Joining me today is a comedian, actor, and podcaster, Nick Di Paolo. Welcome to the Rubin Report.
Thanks, Dave. How are you?
I like that the first thing you said to me was, do I have to worry about any language here?
Yeah. Which
you want to drop it right now? You want to drop all your big words?
Beautiful. Like you said, I've seen you on YouTube, and it looks like a TV station. I felt like I was walking in to meet the press, and
yeah, this is very professional.
Yeah, well, you got the,
I wore a jacket for you. The whole
I was
thing.
going to put a tie on for you.
That would have been a bit much.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He would have seen right through that.
Does anyone want to see a comedian in a tie?
Only if they're hanging themselves after they say something wrong.
Yeah, well, I think that's going to be the theme of everything we're doing here. So, for the people that don't know you, give me a little background on Nick Di Paolo, pre-stand-up.
Pre-stand-up?
Yeah. Did you have a life before stand-up?
I don't know if you call it a life. I had a heartbeat and I was breathing. But I grew up about 22 miles north of Boston, and a very middle-class white suburb, pretty much, and went to college at University of Maine. And came out of college, took a job selling frozen steak and seafood door to door out of the back of a Isuzu pickup truck. That
actually seems like a good prelude to stand up.
It was a great prelude. I'd walk into places, I'd lay out all my stuff. I'd go into any residence, small businesses. I'd go into a real estate place. I'd lay out all my stuff if they let me in, and there'd be 20 people firing questions. How much is that per pound? Yeah. And it was great. I'd make them laugh, and the stuff was really overpriced, but it was a boiler room operation, and I'm sure there's people that have seen me on TV since saying, I'm going to find that. I bought haddock for $85 a pound from that jerk. So, I did that for a few years, and then they took a job. You ever see those companies late at night that market inventions, if you have an idea for an invention?
Oh, yeah.
I did that, and started...
Wait, meaning you did one of those infomercials?
No, I actually was a salesman. Like, I had my own corner office, another boiler room operation.
Wow, geez.
Which I didn't know. When you come out of college, it looks like a legitimate. They're in a nice building. I got a suit on and stuff. Then you find out. But the biggest one, I took a job with New England Rare Coin Galleries in Boston. It was like working at Merrill Lynch. It was on the 31st floor of a skyscraper. I had to wear a suit. It looked just like, Charlie Sheen of Wall Street when I went to work. So I did that that was brutal. I'm trying to sell $50,000 coins over the phone to somebody I've never met before. This is after selling steak and seafood door to door.
Yeah, there's some training ground.
That didn't last long, right?
Yeah.
So I quit that. I quit that, and about a month later, I'm watching TV. I see my boss being let out by the FBI.
No shit.
Cops. It was like another boiler room operation. Jeez. Some of the coins were fake, But I started doing stand-up, right after that, probably a couple of years out of college.
And this is in Boston?
Yeah, in Boston, at a place called Stitches. There's a documentary, you've probably seen it, when stand-up stood out.
Yeah.
And that little club where they're interviewing people, Stitches, that's the first place I did my first joke, open mic. Yeah. I was drunk at a cookout at my parents' house, and like good parents, they gave me the keys and said... Go in and try. I put my name in. Sure enough, I got called. It was a Sunday night. I pull up to Stitches in Boston, and on the marquee, I never forget, it said Comedy Hell. That's what. That was my first. George McDonald was the host. This guy in Boston. My first line on stage was an ad lib. That's when he said to me, "I knew you were going to be funny." I followed some guy in a tuxedo, and I had like a sweatshirt on, and I'm like, I didn't know how to dress, and I said I didn't know I'd be following fucking Mr. Saunders, which is a local tuxedo place, and that got like a nice laugh, and then I bombed for the next 4 minutes, and I was stupid enough to go back.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the beginning of everybody, right? You don't even know how to screw up at the beginning.
That's right.
So you're kind of good by accident or something like that.
That's right.
That must have been a magical time in Boston. I mean, that's what the documentary is about, but there were major comics there, all doing it seemingly for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Before they even knew what stand-up could become or what it would be. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still to this day. You think about the people that have come out of Boston. I mean, Jay Leno, Conan, Joe Rogan, Louis, Billy Burr. Myself, even Kevin Meaney and Janine Garofalo moved to Boston at the time. Yeah. And it was a crazy Stephen Wright. He's a
he's a legend. He's a legend. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it's a crazy, but that was, Reminds me of Goodfellas at the beginning. It was a glorious time. You know? I had a pot of Coke next to my bed at the comedy condo. It was unbelievable.
How thin did you cut the garlic?
What's that?
How thin did you cut the garlic?
Oh, very thin. With the you could do
There's
that.
a metaphor there.
You could do that at Nick's.
Yeah.
You know exactly at Nick's. That's how they get paid at Nick's Comedy Club. You could get paid in Coke or money and.
So there were a lot of drugs going on.
Yeah, I wasn't a drug guy. I was a jock. I played football in college, but they would kick me out of the green room, like Steve Sweeney and Gavin and all the veterans. Like, hey, rookie, you gonna do this shit or get out?
Yeah.
I'm standing out. One time I tried it. John Panette talked me into it. After about a year and a half, he talked me into doing a line. I go up on stage at Nick's. I'll never forget it. And I'm talking. I have cotton mouth from the coke. My lip keeps getting stuck like this. I have my hand in my pocket. And at one point, it was quiet during this, so the guy yells out, "Hey, relax up there." I was jiggling my car keys. All the comics in the back were dying. I kept tripping over my punchlines because my lip kept getting stuck on my teeth, and that was how he didn't die earlier. I mean, he's the only. I loved him so much, so I actually said, "I'll do it to shut you up."
I don't mean any disrespect to him, but if he was doing a lot of coke, somehow the weight thing didn't.
Makes no sense.
He
was putting it on cheeseburgers, and you know. I don't know, but so that was the beginning. But following guys like Lenny Clark and Steve Sweet, these guys are legends. Your fans probably don't know who they are, but to this day, I mean, Kenny Rogerson. These guys were as good. Now I've been doing it 30 years later, and I still haven't seen anybody, you know, rock a room like that with a material, you know.
So what do you think happens to that type of guy? Because I don't even know those guys, really. The guys that don't make it. Because I know, I mean, this is the same old story that we all have, but like some of the worst comics that I started with have become successful. And some of the best ones, and most actually of the guys that I thought were really great, completely disappeared. And we all have that story.
Well, the guys in Boston, there was a couple of reasons. It was so big. Comedy stand-up was booming in the mid-'80s, late '80s. And that was the mecca, like you said. But these guys, like Nick's Comedy Club, held like 350 people. And it was just a money-making machine. And it was run by the boys. And they had like some of the guys sign agreements saying they couldn't perform anywhere else. But they were making... This is back in the '80s. I remember one of the guys telling me they were making $3,000, $3,500 a weekend.
Jeez.
So why would you leave?
Right, in the cities. It's not like you even had to go. Yeah, you didn't have to go on the road.
They were in their homes, and they, you know, and like I said, they party their ass off, and they signed. Some of them signed agreements saying that they couldn't perform elsewhere. So that's what. But I mean, they were making killer money. Didn't have to get on a plane, but in the long run. Was saying, you know, who are they? But Steve Sweeney's been in a few Fairley Brother movies, and Lenny Clark was brilliant. I saw these guys at their Kevin Meaney.
Yeah.
They had
I always loved Kevin Meaney.
Unbelievably fun. Sweeney Meaney night, they call it. I was a bar back at Stitch's Comedy Club before I That was the other job I did for about 6 months. I just wanted to be near it, you know. And it was Sweeney Meaney night. It was Kevin Meaney and Steve Sweeney, who was the godfather of comedy. And they had a show on Wednesday nights. Kevin Meaney would go out on the street with a camera, live, and a screen would come down in the club so the audience could watch. And he would pull over buses, get on buses, and start making fun of people on the bus. Him and Sweeney went into the Chinese restaurant next door. Sweeney's got like a cutout of a cop with his face through it. He's pretending he's like a food... yelling at the Chinese people to clean up the kitchen. Then they go into a ladies' room, and there's a woman in the stall. They kick open the door with a camera. She's sitting on the door. Picture a crowd in a club.
This would not fly these days.
No, it wouldn't. Of course not. That would be too much fun. But picture that. People inside, well, I've never heard laughter like that in my life. Kevin he waved down a cop and started giving the cop shit, and the cop got mad. And we're watching this on a screen inside. I mean, brilliant. And you know, it was a unbelievable time. There was more stages available than comedians at that. I worked 300 nights my first year in comedy.
So this is what year around?
88.
So this is like sort of at the end of like the boom of the boom, right?
Yes.
Because what do they say that when Dice sold out Madison Square Garden like 3 nights in a row, that was when the whole thing shattered, basically.
Yeah, that sounds
which
about
I think
right.
was around 90 or 91, something like that.
That sounds about right. But it's tough for these guys. The game has changed so much. But me and Louis C.K. came up together. He was already doing it a year or two before me. I met him, he was 18. I was like 25. And, but every restaurant and pub in New England, not just Boston. I could show you my book from my first year. Monday night, I'd be at a Chinese restaurant in Rhode Island. Tuesday night, I'd be at some Mexican restaurant in Franklin, Mass. Wednesday night, I might do a college. Thursday night, I'd be in Nashville, New Hampshire at a Holiday Inn. And on 7 nights a week, there was so much stage time, as you know, as a stand-up.
Yeah.
There's nothing more important.
Yeah.
And we thought that's how it was. We didn't realize there was a boom going on.
Yeah.
We thought this is how it is.
Yeah.
So I quit my day job. I was making more money after about 10 months. I could handle a rough room.
I mean, that's pretty crazy after 10 months.
I could handle a rough room, and some of the rooms are rough, the one-nighters, and I got the reputation that I could close these. There was one in Kingston, Mass, down in the Cape, and it was a pool hall, and it was sort of a bucket of blood room. And I went down, and there's people literally playing pool in the back while I'm doing my. But by the end of it, they had put their pool sticks down, and the guy that ran the place said, he's the first guy that ever had those guys come in. And I started to close rooms after Barry Katz was my manager at the time. He booked every room in New England. So I had work every night, and you could make, I was making on the weekends, I'd make $600, $700, $800 in cash. And I was, making about as much as I was during the day. So I quit my day job.
That's crazy.
It's a different time.
Right. No 10-month comedian in New York City. If you make $600 in a year, even now, I think you're pretty thrilled.
Right. I feel bad for these younger.
Yeah.
It's a whole different game.
What do you make of just sort of, when people say, well, comics are all just messed up and the whole thing? What do you make about the pain related to comedy that drags all of us in there?
I think some of it's overblown. We all have a screw loose somewhere. Yeah. But this whole stuff that, it has to be the kids who were bullied, and I don't buy that shit. Yeah. Even Bill Hicks had a bit about that he didn't buy into that either. Yeah. His parents supported him, whatever he did, blah, 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 which is sort of the way I was. I was very quiet and serious as a kid.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I bullied as much as I was bullied. Nobody likes to say that, but it's the truth.
That's the point.
Yeah.
I've been bullied, and I bully
Nick,
people.
we're losing a lot of social justice warrior cred right now. We're supposed to be victims.
Thank Christ. That's not what I'm here for.
Man, Bill Hicks, I miss Bill Hicks. I mean, he was a little before my time, but that relentless pursuit of truth in stand-up.
Yeah, and he was politically to the left, but he was really funny and hateful about it. Yeah, I mean, his conviction. That's what I learned from watching him. Yeah. Even to this day, when I have a joke in my head and I'm like, I don't know if I should say this or not, I use sort of him as a barometer. Yeah. But, he was on the left. He wasn't getting too much trouble, showbiz-wise. But he said some, stuff, the way he used to talk about Rush Limbaugh and stuff. I do the same thing to Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, well, his bit about Leno, regardless of what you think about Leno, I mean, it's so absolutely perfect. It's just perfection. His head blows up in the NBC peacock. I mean, come on.
Hey, Doc, is that a red jacket or is that his brains on your coat?
Yeah, it's pretty perfect.
The angst and I have a lot of that in me. I have that chip that he had for, I don't know, whatever reason. I was born like that, and that's what I loved about him. Politically, he used to always say, there's nobody out there that can hurt us when, talking about Iraq or whatever. Right. How we have the biggest military, they have the third, whatever. Right. He says, there's nobody out there who's a fucking threat to us. I'd like to bring him back to life and go, tell him about 9/11. Yeah. Yeah. So, but he was what a writer. And, I don't have to be on the same side of you politically to find you funny. Yeah. But I find that the left doesn't do that.
Yeah. All right, so let's shift there a little bit. Sure. So what do you think has happened to stand-up in the last, say, well, now it seems like 20 years, but in the last couple of years especially, it's gone from where it was seriously edgy, where every morning I wake up now and I'm like, man, I wish George Carlin was still alive. Not only because I think he was the greatest stand-up ever, but we need still some of that, although he'd be getting booed off college campuses because he's an old white guy. Yeah, but he was I love Carlin. He's one of my idols too, but he was a lefty and he sort of created this environment. But he was more, I guess, he was a lefty, but he was relentlessly against political correctness. Yeah. So that shows you how some of this stuff has changed. Yeah. But what do you make of sort of what's happened? I was telling you right before we started, the only reason I'm doing stand-up now, again, is because so many of these comics now have become the politically correct children that they're supposed to be making fun of. And I was like, I guess I got to go do it again. And now I'm doing it again. It's bizarre.
You know who I blame? And I'm not kidding you. The feminist movement. They're at the core. They're at the core of all this politically correct horseshit that drives us nuts. They're at the core of it. I think society's been feminized.
Yeah.
Guys, and again, I'm generalizing here, but for the most part.
Even the loosest generalization will just cause.
Yeah, I know.
That's what they want, though. They want us to be walking around qualifying every statement. I don't mean everybody.
No, exactly, which I usually don't.
Yeah.
That's one thing I do in my act. I don't try to balance it out.
Yeah.
I'll pile on, and but sensitivity. PC is based in sensitivity.
Yeah.
And that's not in our DNA. At least most guys, and they have their never-ending list of grievances. They can't leave it alone. I don't watch movies anymore. I stopped about 20 years ago because I was aware of it. Something made me aware of it. I can't suspend my disbelief and watch Angelina Jolie beat up 10 Marines. I just can't fucking do it. I really can't.
Yeah.
And I just, it's been feminized, and this business draws a lot of people who were bullied and shit. Even back in the 80s when I would watch films, I go, and I would say this is way before I was in comedy.
Yeah.
I go, why is the bad kid at the high school always the white kid with a letter jacket, the jock?
Yeah.
And it's still to this day. This is 30 years later.
Yeah. Teen Wolf, Back to the Future, everything.
Yeah. I mean, I know this, it's just, there's a lot more women comics and whatever, but that's where the PC comes from. It comes from the left. Nobody ever says that. The censorship. I know people have bought into it now.
Yeah.
Politicians on both sides.
Yeah.
And guys have acquiesced. I guess it's guys' fault that we let it get this far.
Yeah. Is it weird how it flipped though? Like, because you could look at, say, the '90s when the right was screaming about video game violence and all this stuff, and it's like, no, it doesn't cause real violence. If anything, it actually confuses. So this is where it's like, to me, the right doesn't get a pass. The right is way better now in terms of political correctness and free speech and all that. But yeah, the left has become.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one thing to yell about video game violence, which may or may not be true, or whatever. I never bought into that. I watched the Three Stooges from age 6 to 40. I never hit my brother in the head with a crowbar, poke my mother in the eyes.
Yeah.
But they were wrong on some stuff, but not to the degree that the left's going. We're changing the left. Political correctness, the definition is, changing people's behavior through language. Mm-hmm. And, with today, it's going the he and the she. You want to be called they and the. I'm
sorry that I didn't ask about your pronouns before we started.
Yes, I'd like to be. I don't even know what they are. Call me them.
It.
That's what most people call me. It was kind of funny.
Do you remember? Do you remember when it started seeping into the clubs?
There's no one specific moment. I've been doing this 31 years or whatever, so I finally, after all this time, people come out to see me. They know what's coming, But I do remember early in my career, I was at Clark University. I was doing a college. Mm-hmm. And Clark University, I think it's Clark in Massachusetts. It's even liberal for a Massachusetts school.
That's liberal.
Yeah, and I did some joke about a Middle Eastern guy at a gas station. He couldn't find my oil. He was trying to change. I said I had the one Middle Eastern guy that couldn't find oil, whatever. And some kid in the front row at college, he's got short. He goes, Jesus, that was what are you going to do, abortion jokes next? So I just rattled off like 8 abortion jokes off the top of my head, and the whole place was booing.
Yeah.
And it's the only time I got off stage a couple minutes early.
Really?
Yeah. So that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I don't know, if you say it with enough conviction, I don't know. I get a thrill out of it. These are good and bad times, but I've always, even after my first open mic, about 6 months in my open mic experience, a comic said to me, "You're politically incorrect. That's where it's headed." And even I said to him, I go, "It's going to get a lot worse." This was like an 88 or 89.
Yeah.
And it did get a lot worse.
Do you think it can get much worse than
No.
it's gotten? I mean, now you see articles in BuzzFeed every day about stand-up either needs to be not funny now. We should enter, did you see that article a couple weeks ago?
I did see.
We should enter a phase where stand-up shouldn't be funny so that we can address the
Imagine we're having that conversation?
Yeah.
We're even having that conversation. Stand-up, that's the antithesis of what stand-up's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're supposed to say what people won't say, and that's in the DNA of a comic. I mean, in high school, if I saw an opening in class for a joke, I would, let it fly. And I can't believe it's to this point, but I don't know where else it can go. I mean,
it can go in the direction that, they'll force clubs to stop booking people and they'll kick the rest of us off platforms.
Then a black market will pop up like anything else when you prohibit something, right?
Yeah.
And then it really get fun. Then we have a civil war.
Can
we have the goddamn war? I'm on the side with all the guns.
You can go right there.
I'm on the side with all the guns, okay? Let's get it on. I'm tired of it, man. But at least, like I said, by now, at least I market myself and people know, thanks to my podcast and after 30 years of stand-up, I said stuff on Tough Crowd.
Yeah.
I called, we showed a commercial, and I said, they're cultural Marxists, the people that write this shit. And everybody's like, what's he talking about? And I got, pigeonholed that day.
Right.
That's
got to be at least 10 years ago, so that's before.
At least 10 years ago. I was reading a lot of Pat Buchanan, who I still love. Okay.
What are you, so you were in the Tough Crowd crew.
Yes.
Colin Quinn, obviously, and that whole crew. That show, it was only on for a couple of years, actually, but it probably would never, not probably, it would never make it on Comedy Central now.
Oh, God, no. They actually said to Colin, who's a genius. Colin grew up in, do you know
Yeah,
Colin?
of course, yeah.
I mean, he's the sweetest guy, as bright a guy as you'll ever meet. He grew up in Brooklyn. Went to high school, black kids, Puerto Ricans, Dominican. He knows that world.
Yeah.
And they actually said to him after a few episodes of Tough Crowd, after a couple seasons, they said, why don't you leave the race stuff to Chappelle? Can you imagine saying that to Colin?
That's actually racist. I mean, that.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. People love that show because me and Patrice would unload on each other. And people loved me for it. I was on a plane in Atlanta right after me and Patrice had a good toe-to-toe on the show. And I was at a plane in Atlanta, and I see this black guy looking at me with his son. Yeah. And I'm getting a little nervous, and they come up to me, and they go, we love you, man, on Tough Crowd.
Yeah.
And it was like, people, once you meet people face to face,
Is that what sort of, because you clearly have a good disposition, especially for a comic, is that partly what it is? Like, I see this now after being on tour for the last year. If I go online, it's just like an endless hate fest of lunacy. Everyone's trying to destroy each other.
Yeah.
And then every night when I'm touring and I do meet and greets after the show and I meet all of these people and nobody cares what sex they are or sexuality or color, and everyone's great. So I feel like I live in these alternate worlds where the real world happens to be pretty damn good.
It is. And it's not just social media, just the mainstream media.
Yeah.
I'll be laying there watching TV, and all of a sudden a PSA will come on for bullying. Jesus Christ, leave it alone for 5. I can't watch a Red Sox game. I'm from Boston. New England Sports Network is the most PC. I love my Red Sox. I have trouble. There's always we got 12 women from the Maine Women's Shelter here. There's kids with cancer. It's like, Jesus, I'm watching this to get away from that.
Yeah. Well, look what happened to ESPN. I mean, they've destroyed themselves in the name of being woke.
And they didn't give a shit, did they? Do they have that much money? Or that's Disney. Nothing is more PC than Disney.
Yeah.
They're at the core of it, too.
So, wait, you mentioned, we'll get there, but I don't want to jump over Patrice, because you've watched a couple of your core guys died in the midst of this, which so Greg Giraldo, who was like on his way to becoming star of stars. I used to live like 2 or 3 blocks away from him on the Upper West, and I remember seeing him. I would see him all the time. He'd have his 2 kids, and he'd be walking them to school or whatever. And I used to see him at Equinox at the gym, and he was fit, and he seemed like he was like. I used to look at him and be like, we didn't really, he kind of knew I was a comic, but we didn't know each other. But I would look at him and I'd be like, oh, you're a comic who like became a human. You actually became like a real person too. And I sort of wanted to emulate that in a way. And I remember I saw him at the gym one day, and he's pumping, blah, blah, blah. He was dead 2 days later. And it really threw me for a loop, even though I didn't know the guy that well. So, and you've had a couple of guys in your crew that just...
Yeah, Patrice and Greg, even now when I hear them on the radio, I'll be listening to Satellite, and I'm like, I got a good line for Patrice, Greg.
Yeah.
And I never really got over the. Giraldo just shocked me when that happened. He seemed too smart. I mean, he's a Harvard guy, law guy. But that's what I loved about him. He lent some credibility to stand up. You know what I mean? A very bright kid, and always, he was always jovial, and he would pick my brain. He would watch me. I was a little ahead of him. Yeah. And he would be asking all the right questions, about stand up and he was on his way, like you said. And Patrice, I just love Patrice because he's a Boston guy. He's a curmudgeon and didn't hide his dislike for Whitey. Yeah. And I didn't hide my dislike for him or his friends, that's why we liked each other. Yeah. You know what I mean? And what a blow to lose those. It's always the good ones, isn't it?
Dave? Well, only the good die young.
Sarah Silverman will live till she's 112. And Patton Oswalt and Kathy Griffin.
Oh, well, now you're talking about the people that dragged me back in. I mean, those three particularly, actually, but there's a couple others that these are the ones that are talking about we can't let Milo's book be published. Doesn't matter what you think about Milo. Comedians talking about banning books. I mean,
can you imagine if you said that about whoever, Bill Maher should not be able to write a book?
Yeah.
I mean, they are artists. And they are for groupthink, which is the quickest way to stifle any creativity. They're little fascist fucks. I hate them. I try to be nice. I actually texted Patton Oswalt. I don't know him that well. Yeah. When his wife died, I felt so horrible. I texted him a couple times, and then I read this stuff that he says, and I was like, I don't like this guy. Wish it was him.
There's the line.
Patton, I'm just busting balls, really. Yeah. But what I mean? And Sarah Silverman, who is she?
Yeah, well...
Couldn't follow me on my worst night.
There it is. So what do we do to break that thing? Because it does still seem to be spreading. Like, I get that there's some pushback now and there. Well, first off, what do you consider? You're a conservative? I mean, if somebody says...
not.
I know it doesn't really matter.
I know, but I'm like, and Colin Quinn said this too. I got labeled that after Tough Crowd. Yeah. But we're in show business, right?
I guess something.
This is show business. Yeah. In Hollywood or wherever in show business, if you're out of 20 issues, if you lean right on 2 of them, you're a Nazi.
You're a Nazi, yeah.
So I kept getting pegged with that conservative, but I'm really not. I'm for the truth. I call them as I see them. Yeah. And I'm sure, conservatives back in the civil rights were on the wrong side of that. Now these guys are them. They're on the wrong side to me. Yeah. Anytime you want to censor, I'm pro-gay marriage. I don't really care about guns. I can't say I'm pro-life, only because, I have a dad dying of Alzheimer's right now, and if I could put him out of his misery tomorrow, I would. And when I was young, I was glad there was Planned Parenthood around. I got in trouble with a few girls or whatever. So I'd be a hypocrite to say, but there's way too many abortions. I'll go with that. I mean, this is ridiculous what's going on.
Yeah. Isn't it strange, though, that those positions, which I'm with you, I describe myself, I'm begrudgingly pro-choice. I wish I didn't have to be, but I
begrudgingly, good word.
But I know several women that have had abortions in the last.
Yes.
I don't think I could take that away from them, but I completely get the pro-life side.
Right.
But even to take those positions, you just said, if you're going to take anything that's not on the progressive side, you're one of the bad guys.
Yes.
So.
Well, that's what it is. You have to check off all the boxes. Yeah. Or you're a Nazi or whatever. This whole you're a bigot. Who do you think you are that you can label somebody that is, to me, unbelievable. You've never had a racist thought or muttered a racist thing? Those are the only people that have the right to call me a bigot, and that person doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. I mean, the sanctimony on it is fun. I can't believe it.
Yeah. My buddy Pete Boghossian, who's been on the show many times, calls this thing a secular religion. And that's what it is. It's become a religion.
That's what it is.
To these people,
Yeah. They put it before anything.
God, we got our work cut out for us, huh?
The solution is a war, folks. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, we're going to balkanize and break apart or whatever, and whatever.
Well, it's funny you say that, but I do see this undercurrent of people talking about that now. Do you actually think that's where we end up?
That's why
that eventually over years, these ideas just keep percolating. Everyone realizes how much they have in disagreement with their neighbor, and then we end up in some horrible place. I mean, it's pretty much everything I've been fighting against. I've been trying to get these sides to be a little more decent, but I get the impulse on that.
Yeah, because the gap's too big now. There is no middle ground. There is no dissenting. I use an analogy. It's like an athlete's knee. I'm thinking of Bobby, yours, it's like, the cartilage is gone.
Yeah, and now it's
bone on bone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's such a gap. We're seeing the world through two different lenses.
Yeah.
I don't see that closing. I only see, and social media sort of threw the gas on it and expedited it.
What do you make about what's going on with the tech companies and censorship and all that? Because that also is another thing that should be right in a comedian's wheelhouse, and I don't see these guys doing it. I see Seth MacFarlane saying the Family Guy is not going to do gay jokes anymore. The Simpsons isn't going to put Apu in episodes, the hardest working guy on the show who was completely welcomed, who was an immigrant that changed Homer's stance on illegal immigration and a gajillion other things.
That's a cancer in this country.
Who taught about Indian weddings and Hinduism and veganism.
How horrible.
Horrible, right?
Get him off the TV set.
Just disgusting, yeah. But all of this, it's all related to social media, the way everyone we can look at the past and immediately erase it, and we're automatically going to be better, and all of this endless bullshit. What do you make of all of that?
Well, the tech companies have it out for us. Are you starting that thing with Jordan?
We're working on it.
Can you count me in?
I'll count you in.
I'm still on Patreon.
Yeah, are you?
Yeah, and they've been fair to me, but I don't want to contribute to a. I don't know where their money's going.
Yeah, you're in. We'll have to discuss the rest of it, not with the cameras.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Leave it to me to bring that up.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, even just related to that, I saw one guy, it's like a fairly well-known, verified blue check lefty, attacking me and Jordan over leaving because, Carl Benjamin and Sargon of Akkad said the N-word. And he said it, and the guy kept saying, if he had said it with an A at the end instead of an R at the end, it would have been okay. And I thought, you guys,
dead serious.
Completely serious, because then it would have been sort of an endearing or at least a colloquial way of saying it.
Right.
But he said it with a hard R, even though the way he said it was against the alt-right anyway, but putting aside reality for a second. But I thought the way you people whittle down everything it's not even about a word, it's about the intonation that you say the word with. It's like,
think about that.
Yeah.
Just that alone.
And as if you've never said anything, right? You've never said it one way or the other way.
No, exactly. Oh, I corrected myself. Oh, did I say it? That proves how silly their arguments are.
Yeah.
But I love that clip of Louis at Governor's, that clip that surfaced a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. So what do you make of that? So you and Louis go way back.
Yes.
Obviously, everyone knows what happened with him. Give me the sort of
look. I've said it a million times. If he did that to my sister, I would have punched him in the face, or a girlfriend or whatever. Obviously, that was horrible behavior on his part.
Yeah.
But capital offense,
right?
Ruining his life and career. Get over yourselves, ladies. I lived with him. I do a joke on stage about it. And let's differentiate between him and Harvey Weinstein. I mean, everybody's being lumped in now.
Yeah.
And what Louis did was horrible and stuff. But then I do a bit about it. So I lived with him for a year and a half. I saw his dick maybe 10 times, 4 times consensually. So I love him. He's a great father. He's as smart a guy as I ever met, and he was I loved him. He was always a little reckless.
Yeah.
And
but what do you make of that thing? I mean, it gets to what I talked about earlier, or what we talked about earlier about just comedians and sort of being messed up and whatever. Like that thing about like he's got everything, right? I mean, that PayPal shot when he had that $1 million just sitting in there because he sold his special just like that. Like the guy had everything. He was respected by everybody. Like, and yet some other shit's still going down. And I think we all suffer from that at some level. Like, it's part of the human condition.
Yes. Yeah, we're humans. We're flawed. Louis never cared about money, even when he started to make it at the beginning. And I was like his big brother. He didn't even know how to handle money when we were, we first met. We went to San Francisco. We're doing the Punchline. Me and him were like co-headlining something. He goes, I'm going out to rent the VCR. This is back in the early 90s, so we can watch movies at the hotel, whatever.
Yeah.
And we both had, literally, I'd probably $900 net worth between. He comes back with a $600 trumpet that he bought. This is how I had to explain to him the value of money, and I still don't think that's not what drives him. I know he got all that success commercially and all the money and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's the most interesting person I've ever met, I think.
So what do you think? You think he's doing the forgiveness machine right, basically?
I love what he did. He waited around, and he saw the bitching, and he stuck his face out for 2 minutes, and people were going wild. Yeah. You got to let me know when he's at the club. Well, he didn't kill babies. What the fuck is going on here? So he stuck his face out and took the temperature and there was a bunch of whining and stuff, and he probably mulled it over a few months, said, fuck this, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
And I'm throwing haymakers. I love the way, all the people that, before this that loved him, now he's the...
Right.
Again,
and the comics, too. It's the comics.
Yeah, but it goes back to that feminist stuff. It always goes back to that.
So he gets back in, and then, of course, all the articles were, now he's alt-right. You saw all that,
Yeah,
talking about,
he's going to be the king of the red states. And better not be. That's my theory. I've been working at it 30 years. All I had to do was whip my dick out, and I could...
Yeah.
And he won't be. And his comedy will be like it's always been.
Yeah.
I don't think he will be the, But I do have a problem with a few comics out there who are kind of famous, who are now getting the label as, edgy and anti-PC.
Who's edgy that you think is actually edgy these days?
Me. My whole career.
We should do a show together.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, all right, we'll do something.
Edgy is doing jokes, pushing racial, with a table of black people right there, where you could get punched in the face. That's edgy. Mm-hmm. Not going in front of Pat Oswalt going in front of 1,000 nerds, and that's not edgy. It never was. Me telling how I feel about women, certain, or the feminist movement.
Yeah.
And doing stuff that could hurt you. I've been doing it my whole, but you got to be funny about it first.
Right, funny first.
You have to be,
otherwise
you end up preaching. And like Billy Burr now he's getting labeled as kind of edgy, but Billy's a very liberal guy. Mm-hmm. And to me, his politics of the past helped create this environment.
I love when they call him racist. I was just at a wedding with him a couple of weeks ago. His wife is black. You idiot.
I know. I love his wife. And Billy is the least racist person I know. Can you imagine? But those guys, I was pushing that a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And now they're like, he's, real, and not Billy so. But Burr right now, to me, is the funniest. Mm-hmm. He's like every guy I grew up with in Boston. Mm-hmm. He sounds like every kid I grew up with, and brutally funny. But my point being, Bill Maher was getting all. Remember Bill Maher went after his own audience because of the Muslim thing and stuff. Yeah. But I said, good for Bill. But Bill, you helped create this environment.
I know. I'm so caught with him because I loved him for so many years. He was like my guy. He was the right kind of liberal, free speech liberal. Yeah. I loved him. And I've always wanted to be on the show, and I want to do this with him. I really do. But these last couple of years, even though I think he's still on the right side on the free speech stuff. Yeah. But when he apologized because of the N-word to Ice-T or whoever it was like, this is bad. This is bad. And now his Trump stuff has gotten so he's become like a caricature of himself. And I say that with like the most respect. Like I want him to be better again or something.
Yeah.
But what does that tell you about just sort of the way television also has changed? Because you've been on The Tonight Show, you've been on Letterman, you've been on all the late night shows. Yeah. They seem completely irrelevant to me now. I mean that. Oh, I don't mean that putting you down. You know what I mean?
No.
Just like the machine has now changed.
At least I did it when Jay was there.
Yeah.
And I love Jimmy too. I love Fallon too. But it's a whole different. And my stuff. I mean, I wasn't. When we start comedy, at the beginning of your career, you try to have a lot of kind of TV clean because you want to get some exposure. Yeah. So I wasn't super edgy, but on my first Letterman, I did mention like a gay woman arguing with me about her dog or whatever, and whatever. I guess compared to what other people, and I made fun of homeless, my opening line, or whatever. So I guess that was kind of edgy.
But that could at least work then. Now you're not getting on the Tonight Show with that.
Well, it's funny. I went to see my buddy Joe List when he did his first Letterman, and the girl said that they wanted me to come back on. It was like a casual chat in the green room. Yeah. But she goes, you can't do any cancer stuff, any home. She starts listing, and I go, I'm all set, thanks. Yeah. As much as I would have loved to have done, one more Letterman or whatever.
We all should have seen this. What's that line from the comedian documentary that Seinfeld did when Orny Adams says he goes on the Tonight Show and they made him change? There's one person on this bus, and that person has lupus or something, and that was his joke because he was the only person on the bus, but they made him change it from lupus to muscular dystrophy or the other way around.
Yeah.
Like the way they look at words, like they had a debate, like a network executive had a debate, like which is more offensive, lupus or muscular dystrophy. I'm honestly not even sure which way it was, which tells you how stupid it is. But what do you think about that? Just the way that
it's
like
irrational.
the old days, like, you know, you wanted to get on Carson so you could do your 5, and maybe he invites you to sit down, and if he does, now you're a star. That's just that's gone.
That's been gone forever.
Yeah.
You know, I was excited because Jay Leno was one of my influences. People laugh when I go watch Jay Leno when he used to appear on the Letterman show in the 80s. Jay would have him on 3 times a month.
Yeah.
And Jay was the king of stand-up at that point. He would go on there. Google. I still go home and I Google these sometimes. Watch Jay as a guest. How funny he was.
Yeah.
That's what really pushed me. Jay, I grew up about 10 minutes from Jay. I go, this guy looks like me, sounds like me, he's Italian, he's Scottish, and sarcastic, and so that was one of my influences, but the whole game has changed.
Yeah. Do you think it matters anymore that, like, there was a certain magic to this idea that you could go through that machine? There was like an actual path to being good and success.
Yeah, that's all gone.
Do you miss it at all? Or the idea of that? And now it's just a kind of a free-for-all?
I like it now.
Yeah.
I like that we're all doing our own thing.
Yeah.
And Kinnison, I used as the model. Like, Kinnison was so offensive and stuff.
Yeah.
But he became such a cult, had such a cult following that Hollywood came to him.
Yeah.
Once you get so big, you know, you have so many followers and stuff. Kinnison sort of did that. He made Hollywood come to him. He was outrageous, and they finally put him on Letterman stuff. I like what's going on. Like, as far as me on my podcast, being able to cut loose, and people are looking for you and guys like you and I now.
Yeah.
There's very few. I did a gig Friday night in San Diego, the Comedy Palace.
I was in San Diego Friday night.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was with Peterson.
Did you ever do that little room?
I haven't done that, but I was at the Balboa Theater with Peterson, so that's a different thing.
Oh, you should have come to the Comedy Palace. I pull up and I'm like, it's kind of a restaurant. But I go in the beautiful comedy room, set up perfectly.
Yeah.
Probably 150 people, maybe.
Yeah.
But San Diego, a sweet spot for.
Yeah.
It was 60% Latino, and they loved me. This is when you feel great about being it's like a Mexican woman in the front. She had to be 65 years old.
Yeah.
She goes to me after the show, say hi to the Twinks. Those are my 2 producers of my podcast. She loved my podcast. She's like a 65-year-old Mexican one.
Yeah.
And when I was doing the religious stuff, she was hanging on every word. And then it was all these biracial couples, a white guy with a Mexican wife, vice versa, and then some white military guys, and they wanted to hear me. I'm going to get real political. I'm not real. When you come to see me now, it's a mix.
Yeah.
But my next album is going to be all political. So people are waiting to hear for it. They perk up when I go into the political stuff.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a need for this type of political thing in stand-up, which is what I'm doing. But so that's what I was going to ask you. Do you even consider yourself political per se?
No.
Yeah, so it's kind of bizarre, right?
Colin Quinn, and I've used this at every interview I've ever done. Colin Quinn said it 20 years ago, and I said, I'm not really political comic, I'm not really conservative. He goes, Nick, but he goes, you're the type of guy, you could be telling a McDonald's joke and people can tell how you voted.
Yeah,
which is a great quote.
That's good.
That sums it up. Yeah. I go after the macro. It's more cultural with me, you know?
Yeah.
I don't go up there and talk about the farm bill that was, you know, that went in the toilet.
Yeah.
I'm more macro. I always push the racial stuff because to me that's the one issue that there's the biggest gap between how it's discussed privately as opposed to publicly. That's the biggest lie. And I can't watch another Home Alarm commercial where the 5 criminals are white. I said that 20 years ago. I've been called. I started the whole look at the dumb white father in the commercial on my first album in 1994. I said it. I think I was listening to Rush at the time.
Right.
You know, and he sort of made me aware.
Yeah.
But I watch these commercials. And it's just hilarious.
But it's weird how everything's become political, right? Like it didn't used to be. I was always doing political stuff. I was a political science major, so I was always into it.
Were you really?
Yeah, but actually, I'm so less interested in politics, more so now than I've ever been. I like the cultural thing.
Yeah.
What we're talking about here is cultural, not political per se.
Right.
But it's weird that everything is politics now. Our celebrities are politics. we're always talking. The Oscars are political. SportsCenter is political. It's kind of gross, actually.
Yeah, it was such a media-driven society, and now the social media has added another layer. But it's gross. It's almost like we don't have lives outside of, you know.
You got to do the detox. I get off on the weekends and I take August. No phone, no nothing.
All of August?
All of August. No news.
Detox.
Try to avoid CNN while you're.
You can't.
It's
what are you doing? Taking helicopters?
No, I can't go to an airport. I can't go to the gym. I can't go to the burger joint. Literally, just going to the gym, I have to walk around like this. But I did it because I was like, I think you've got to escape some of this lunacy.
Oh, you have
every
to.
now and again.
And I don't even realize it, but like I accidentally put on a movie the other night.
Yeah.
It's like Rocky III or whatever. You know, nothing. But it felt so good.
Yeah.
It actually felt like I was eating cotton candy or something.
Yeah.
As opposed to
it's just
watching
this
Tucker
thing.
and then flipping over to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and actually, Joe List, this young comic, said that to me a couple of years ago. He goes, "You watch too much news." I go, "I have to defend myself from assholes like you." But
so how do we push back against the mob? That seems to be the big thing now. It's like I actually think there's some momentum there. I think we're waking up a certain amount of people.
We are waking up, but here's the problem, Dave. What we're watching now is a plan that the left put together 50 years ago, infiltrating schools and all the institutions, taking over, you know, Hollywood, and it's all coming to. That's why they're winning. Mm-hmm. I don't think we will be able to. You know what I mean? It'll take 40 years to we have to grab back the institutions, like, you know,
right.
Entertainment and.
So what does that mean? I mean, well, I guess we're doing
we'll be
it,
gone
right?
We'll be
gone. That's the pressure.
But unless it comes to violence, but yeah, it's going to take forever. All we have is Fox News, you know.
Fox are the only ones that put me on. They're the only ones. I can give my liberal credit left and right. I can't get a call from the other ones.
I have an interesting history. Well, you can't. You're a gay conservative.
Yeah. And I don't even call myself conservative. I'm actually a liberal, but I'm a real liberal. There's no
right.
There's none of us left anymore. You know?
That's what Louis is. Yeah. Louis couldn't be more fair. You know, when we used to argue race and politics, even when I did his show on FX, you know, Horace and Pete. He wrote my. And he would let me look at it first, you know. And he's an old school liberal, looks at both sides, very thoughtful about it.
But isn't that the irony with what's happened to the comics? Is that most comics inherently, I think, are libertarians. Most comics want to be able to say whatever they want and live however you want, and I'm going to live however I want. But they've been like.
They've been brainwashed.
They've been like, it's brainwashed. It's even worse. They've been just infected by this thing that I guess it will, in the short term, give them some success or something, so it's easy to do it, you know?
And what's creeping me out, it's seeped into management now, like people who run the clubs. Yeah. That's what creeps me out. You know?
Is that happening? I haven't encountered that
I've heard
yet.
stories like Kurt Metzger getting in trouble for doing a rape joke.
Oh, yeah.
They send him home and
one.
don't tell him why.
Yeah.
And Bobby Slayton going after, joking around with some black woman in the crowd, and she got offended, and now the helium doesn't want to use him. Yeah. How couldn't you love Bobby Slayton?
Yeah.
I mean,
where would Don Rickles be right now? You know what I mean? And he did it for all the right reasons. Every ethnic joke was for the right reasons because we're all equal in this country, you freaks.
When he was on Letterman a few years ago, one of his last appearances, that was probably going on 10 years ago now. They had a camera in a bar next door, like in the lobby, and there were two older black women at the bar or whatever, and Rickles is on going, "Hey, oi," and they're looking around at the camera, you know. What are you drinking there? Moonshine, whatever, Ripple, and all these. I'm going, holy God. Even me, I'm sitting home going, you know. And they still don't know where the camera, and you hear Rickles goes, and they wonder why they can't get any work. Oh. Even the crowd at Letterman's like, nah, you know.
But he did it to everybody.
Everybody across the board.
Yeah.
Not that you have to. That's my rule, too. I don't feel I need to be balanced. Because when I sit home and I watch how white men are portrayed in commercials and on TV and in movies, I feel no need to balance it out. After the show, people go, "Why did you make fun of white people?" I go home and watch TV.
Yeah. Well, it does seem like it's coordinated what's going on. This endless thing of straight white men. And that politicians are doing it constantly. That it's about white men. It's like, you are racist. You people who call everyone racist, you are racist. Congrats.
Oh, yeah, you can can generalize now about white guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been hearing that phrase forever. Typical frat boy. You know, that's code for white.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said it's coordinated. It really is, isn't it?
I mean, this is where it's like...
I say conspiracy. Colin Quinn, he goes, it's not a conspiracy. It's so big that it's not a conspiracy. That's his theory. It's not
that it infiltrated media and academia.
They don't even have to coordinate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I still think there's 10 guys in a room.
So that's, it depends how far you want to go down, like the
Bilderberg group.
Yeah,
and four of them are gay.
Yeah, naturally.
2 of them are black, and I don't know what the other 4 are. Yeah. But it does feel like an agenda because they follow a certain, every commercial has that certain, you know.
Yeah.
That those progressive commercials. Which
Gillette, you must have loved that one.
Oh my, I couldn't believe it. That's Gillette as in Robert Kraft. That owns the Patriots, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I'm a diehard Pats fan.
Yeah.
I go, I don't even know if I'm going to watch a Super Bowl. Of course, I didn't mean it. But it infuriated me.
Yeah.
But how about the progressive commercials? George Soros, that's one of his companies, by the way.
Progressive auto insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the worst as far as emasculating white guys. Especially the latest one, the guy, he's got like a members only jacket on, and he's got a black buddy, and they're going out, and the black guy says, Bill's my best friend, but he's really changed, and he's handing out directions to the club, you know, that he printed out, and you know, can we get some jalapeno poppers, please? And he's got khakis on, and he's playing, you know, air guitar on the dance floor. I mean, it doesn't even bother me anymore because I started picking these things out years ago. But this one, it is brutal. It would be like having a black guy tap dancing, eating fried chicken in a commercial. That offensive. And the movie, I just watched that movie, Green Book.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Try to watch that one. Yeah. Especially if you're Italian. You talk about offensive. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God! As an Italian, I can't believe we don't. We have a sense of humor
thank God
about it.
Italians have a sense of humor.
We have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
They literally have an Italian guy in a wife beater fold a whole pizza and eat it. And the black guy in the movie doesn't even know how to eat fried chicken. He had never had fried chicken. He's a stuffy, raised, you know.
Well, remember
literally doesn't know how to hold it. Like a guy in a commercial, an infomercial, doesn't know how to use a carrot peeler. Oh, has this ever happened to you? I mean, it's propaganda, Dave.
Yeah. Remember when Anthony Scaramucci had to step down after his 2 days as comms director, but every joke was about him being Italian and in the mafia. And I didn't see Italians rioting or screaming, and it was just like...
No, we did all right. You know?
Yeah.
That's why we can take it. But this movie, it's why I don't go to the movies. And it was so predictable. I should ruin the ending for everybody. But, I've never had fried chicken before. And and the Italian guy is just like, they projected everything like black stereotypical behavior on him, his character. It was just a reverse of roles. They sat down and literally did cross-referencing, it looked like. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You ever get worried that even though you said it's infiltrating the clubs, that like management and the rest of Hollywood, that you're just not going to get other gigs or will be passing up on
I've given up on Hollywood.
Kind of yeah.
I've given up on Hollywood a long time ago. I'll always, stand up. There's always going to be a place. Even when they're trying to shut down speech, it's going to make it better for guys like us, I think, in the long run. But, I've given up on that. Yeah. I like, if somebody wants to throw me in a film or whatever, I told my agent, I go, if the breakdown doesn't say Nick Di Paolo type, I don't want to do it. Pretty cocky. But thank God for stand-up and the internet podcast. Yeah.
You think we're going to be better off in a couple of years or not? You think... I mean, that's where we're at, right? Like,
better when you say better off as a nation, or you and I as a.
Well, I mean, just generally, like, just this. Look, let's pretend the Civil War doesn't come in 5 years. Where do you think we're at?
We're on the brink of Civil War.
You're going bullish on the Civil War.
I don't know where else we can go. There's one side that doesn't want to play. There's one side that has no, you can't keep calling people bigots. People who go out and work and bust their ass, blue-collar people that make this country great. Sounds corny, but they do. Yeah. And you're going to keep pointing your finger and call them racists and bigots and take more of their, confiscate their money. Ocasio-Cortez and her stupid plan. Yeah, good luck.
84% if you live in New York City and you're making over 10 million.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we'd all love to make 10 million. Doesn't mean the government gets to take it just because they want to.
No, that's confiscation.
Yeah, but it's moral. She said it's moral.
That's how they do it. If you're immoral, right? If you're immoral, they can call you whatever you want. That's the whole Nazi, you know, Trump's if he's a Nazi, you can kill him.
Yeah.
If you really believe that, right? That's what they do. That's what gets me the most, that sanctimony on the left of,
well, they're just doing all the shit that they're claiming everyone else is doing. You know?
They're projecting on us.
It's like, imagine what it'll be like if these guys have the political power and the tech power.
Well, you might
they're going to
find
do
out
all the
in
things
2020.
well, that's the thing. They're going to do all of the things that they say Trump is doing. But nobody's in jail over free speech right now. No, you know, it's like
that's my biggest fear. That they have labeled Trump. You know, I mean, just relentless on this guy, and they create chaos, and people eventually going to get tired of the chaos, even if you like Trump. That's what I think their plan was. The left, just constant chaos with this guy, accuse him of everything. And eventually, even the people in the middle might go, we have to, this is tiring.
Right.
We have to, even though I love what he's done. Yeah. I love how he's exposed the swamp. I really, you know, I didn't like him as an entertainer and stuff, or what of The Apprentice. I never watched any of that garbage. I loved him for what he's done to expose these liberal fascists and their crazy ideas.
You can almost get them to take any position now, too, because if Trump says anything, they're automatically against it. So when he's anti-war, they're pro-war. I mean, it's actually
Isn't it unbelievable? He can manipulate them.
Yeah, it's like we're scaling back wars, and now they're for more war in Syria? You're for staying in Afghanistan? Like, what the hell's going on here?
I know.
I thought you were the anti-war progressives.
I know. They're so blinded. And again, and nobody mentions this, everybody goes, why do they hate him so much? I go, because he's an alpha male, blonde-haired, blue-eyed billionaire. That's why. Nobody brings that up.
Yeah.
He embodies the devil for them. An older white guy, billionaire, you know, alpha male, who, you know, says he likes to grab women's pussy. That's evil to them. All that is evil. Nobody ever brings up why, you know, they always dance around it on shows on Fox. And
I'm trying to think what you're going to get in the most shit for in the last hour.
What I'm going to what?
What you're going to get in the most shit for the last hour.
What do you mean?
Just as you said, it's grab him by the pussy. It's like, you know, because there's always people waiting to, you know, watch something for an hour and find the 10 seconds that they can grab them. And
they'll edit it. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I really don't.
That's all that you can do.
You can't hurt me anymore. But that's not why I love him, because he said that. I'm just saying.
No, I got you. But I always have that in the back of my head, you know?
Oh, absolutely. No, I don't. I right before I do an interview, I go, this is how it's going to go. How are they going to hurt me? Are they going to kick me off my own podcast? Or it's not like I'm on an ABC sitcom or...
Right. Well, they could start going for servers and, you know, try to bump everybody off all of these social media sites. I mean, perhaps there's some people working on a solution to that, if you know what I mean.
I heard that. I'm praying that is true. I'm in the middle of reading his book right now.
That guy. Yep.
That guy.
Yep.
And he's brilliant. And all I get from the book is you're supposed to do the right thing. Who wants to live that way? It's very boring.
Yeah. These days, it's better than the alternative.
No, he's exactly right, but, you know.
Yeah.
I hope that comes to fruition.
All right. Well,
all right.
Let's do a gig together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. All right. We're going to make it happen. All right. Cool. Everybody can follow Nick. Can I send them to your Twitter?
Send them to nickdip.com.
Nickdip.com.
And sign up for my show, The Nick Di Paolo Show. It's free on Monday and Wednesday. It streams on YouTube and Facebook Live and a few other places. And then Tuesday and Thursday, it's a Patreon. But you can do it all at my website. And we made it so simple, because I'm not a tech guy either.
Yeah.
But nickdip.com, and that's where you go. And come see me live, because it's still my bread and butter.
Nickdip.com, and don't forget to try the veal.